go back to your ancestors. It shows you that prior to taking care of the Tuba, the European, we must take care of the black collaborators, the ones that want to be here. Right. It shows you through our ancestors, everything is powerful. The resources we did and everything we did to fight for. And it shows you that with just the ideology we all tend to just see. When we look at that, we get inspiration. We get inspired by our own people. And it shows you a sense of pride, that you know where you come from, hold your head high. So 1804 wasn't just for Haiti, it was for Africans all over. Because the land stated in the 1805 Constitution, any African that comes to this land is free. Yes. Like, if you're an African, you're free. And a lot of people don't know that. It was a great migration for Africans. A lot of people don't even know Harriet Tubman was a gateway to go to Haiti. So in the 1850s, so it was a great migration. So around over 500,000 African Americans fled to Haiti. So matter of fact, Northern Haiti and Southern Haiti speak a different kind of Creole because of that African American influence into it. And a lot of people don't know that when a lot of Haitians have migrated to Harlem, that's when the Harlem Renaissance had popped off. And that's when Langston Hughes, that's when we embraced our Haitian culture. That's when Langston Hughes wrote a lot of plays about the Haitian Revolution. Zora Neale Hurston, Tell It to My Heart. Haiti was actually a place where she used to go. And I was like, okay, my mind is you feel me? America overwhelmed. I need to go to Haiti. And she was deep in the Richmond movement. She wrote in the book, Tell It to My Heart. And she actually wrote the book, Their Eyes Are Watching God. She wrote that in Haiti. There's a lot of things that's just a little bit. So this was the prayer that Dada Bootman, which was actually from Jamaica. He was talking about the Dahomey warrior tribes. And he was brought up to Haiti. He's a Mambo. So 43% of Africans who were coming over were Muslim. It was our queens that told us, you gotta dish that religion. You gotta go back to yourself. You gotta go back to your spirituality. So he became a Mambo. It was him and Mambo Cecile Fatima. And this is one of the prayers he said. The God who created the earth, who created the sun that gives us light, the God who rolls up the ocean, who makes the thunder roar, our God who has ears to hear, you who are hidden in the cloud, who watches from where you are. You see all that the white man has made us suffer. The white man, God, asks us to commit crime, but the God within us wants us to do good. Our God, who is so good, so just, he ordered us to revenge our wrong. It is he who will direct our arms and bring us to the victory. It is he who will assist us. We all should throw away the image of the white man, God, who is so pitiless. Listen to the voice for liberty that speaks in all our heart.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
With that being said, I must first also say thank you to your sister who introduced me to it.
Yes.
Yes. Woo! Thought I could do it without the tears, but it won't happen. That kind of power on the inside of you resonates you.
Yes, sir.
It brings you to a level of understanding that we're not only powerful, we got so much power on the inside of us. And when we collectively come together, we can shift this building to that side of the ground.
Absolutely.
This whole building. So we have to realize that that's the power that we have within us. And these young princesses and goddesses and queens and kings and princes, and I mean, these young men, these young male and females that are here, they are powerful. And we have to continue to train them up. I have to use the word, train them up in the way they should go. The right way.
Yeah.
Without the lies and deception. With that being said, Sister Bayat, let's bring you up.
Grand Rising. You all know me as Sister Mayat. However, my name is Vice Clean. And I am from the newly formed Kaim Pakal Nation. Clean Pakal, Luma Nation. And what that is, that means light, protection, earth. And we are the protectors of the earth. My name is, it represents light, wisdom. I'm sorry, I'm real nervous right now, but wisdom and woman of light. Then we are from the Iroquois Nation. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Whew, thank you. I can't deal with the mic. Okay. But anyway, so me and
Just take your time. Say
I'm
it.
nervous, man. You got to speak to people.
Say it in your own way. Say it in your own way.
This is talking to your family.
This is Easter Mom. She can tell you the meaning of her name. We are part of a nation that's newly forming and a new government. What we really need for our people, we need is a government. Okay, and she's going to explain everything what that entails and how we can do that, because we have to be separate and distinct from them. Okay, so without any further ado,
I'm short. I'm short at my apologies, I can believe that. Yeah, that's good. So, Grand Rising. I'm going to speak with you all today about some things that are probably going to shake you a little bit. Right? But sometimes we have to do that. Yeah. Because if you don't get a shaking, guess what happens? You get comfortable, right? And you don't get it awakened. I like that. Okay, so I am Ishtilam Yahala, and that means the interpreter of the awakening, right? We are with the Iroquois Confederacy. Our nation state is called, as Mais has said, Ka'im Pakal Luma Nation. All right, and so what has happened is that we have come to an inner understanding of the truth about who the Aboriginal American peoples are. And so with that, we're going to share a little bit of information with you all. I would ask, would you please have an open mind? Because this is very, very important information, and at the same token, it requires action. Because once you know the truth, but you got to take action. All right, so if you look at the slide up there, it says, who are the American Aborigines, and then who is Indian not taxed? And that's very important, and we'll tell you why. But before we get to that, we always like to start off our presentations by talking about etymon. Does anyone know what etymon is? Etymology, exactly. So, will someone read what the definition of etymology? Etymon, rather, yes.
Etymon, primitive word,
Yes.
1570s from Greek etymon, neuter of etymon, true, real, actual.
Absolutely, thank you. So when we talk about etymon or etymology, what we're basically saying is at the time that word was created, right, that word started to be used, what exactly was the meaning? And that can only be the true and actual meaning of the word.
I won't refer to everyone.
Right, very good. And so this is important as I go through this presentation, because it's going to bring some things home for all of us that are in this room. All right, next slide. So, how many people here use the word nice?
Can you tell me the context in which you use it?
You look so nice.
Oh, really? Anybody else? Use the word nice? How do you use it?
I don't, I know the etymology.
You very So you be quiet. Anyone else? Yes.
I thought it was good compliment.
Right. All right, so let's together read the definition, etymology of the word nice. So it's from the late 1300s, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So it means, so when someone says you have a nice day,
Yeah.
right? They're actually saying to you, have a what? Foolish, ignorant, frivolous, senseless, careless, clumsy, weak, poor, needy, simple, stupid, silly, foolish day.
Wow.
Right? That's not all. If you keep going, it says having an ignorant or an unaware day, literally not knowing. And the reason why we bring these things into action is into play is because
The etymology
we always use
of a
these
word.
words, and we're unaware of their meanings. And we all know the words are spells, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and words cast spells.
You know what, there's a scripture that says you're taken by your mouth, by the words of your mouth.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know what you're saying.
You don't. And I would suggest to everybody in this room to start to just research the etymology of almost every single word. that
Check
you
out
use.
your words.
Because they don't mean what you think they mean. And here's the thing about it. Those who gave us the words, they know that,
Exactly.
right? They know that.
Exactly.
Believe me, they know. Next slide. How many of you use the word family? Oh, I heard it in here a couple of times. Already today, I was paying attention. Yeah, let's read what family means. Can you all see that? Will you read it?
Service of a household, from Latin familia, family, servant, domestic collectively. The service in the household, also members of the household, the estate property. The household including relatives and servants.
Etymology of the
Not
word.
fact, not form, for formula. Servant, slave, which is of unknown origin.
So let me ask you a question. Are we family?
No, we're tribe.
Are we tribe? Interesting. Might get that one too, right? All right, so basically what we need to keep in mind here is that, again, we need to know the etymology of the words that we use. But we also need to recognize that some of the words that are given to us related to us from someone else's perspective and had absolutely nothing at all to do with how we would have addressed ourselves. All right? Next slide. So, when we dump the word family, what we did pick up is what? Lineage, right? And so, will someone read the definition of lineage?
Lineage, line of descent, of ancestor, from old French lineage, descent, extraction, race, 11, see, from lineage,
11th century, yes.
from lineage, that's how they say it.
Yes.
Line, from Latin, line of descent, literally stream, line, thread.
So, wouldn't it be more productive for us to use the word, inappropriate to use the word lineage? No?
Say that.
Wouldn't it be more appropriate for us to use the word lineage when we're referring to each other? Yes, absolutely. We're talking about ourselves and our ancestors, right? And we are our ancestors, right? We are our ancestors, yes.
Pedigree.
Pedigree.
Pedigree was a word that I think a lot of people were introduced to when they watched Tyler Perry's movie. Because a lot of people, if you attended a black college, pedigree was a word that might have come up for you. But if you didn't, it depended upon who you were in the company of. So the elitist, the black elitist, was one who used the word pedigree, but pedigree most often is referred to for dogs.
Animals. Yeah, animals.
That's true.
We might get into a little bit about these prestigious universities we all go to. You know the etymology of the word prestigious? I encourage somebody to look it up while I'm going through this. All right, so next slide. All right, so what we want to do now is, because we really need to grasp this for ourselves so that we stop looking in other places for who we are. All right, so what is the definition of an American? I'll read it. A native of America. Where is America? Where is America? Is Haiti America? Is Haiti America? It absolutely is America, right? It's on the Western Hemisphere. It is absolutely. Yes. Is Panama America?
Yes.
Absolutely, right? Canada, Mexico, this is all our stuff. All of
You
it.
know what, they have this big perception that Mexico is somewhere else, but it's really-
Absolutely. It's the Americans.
So they're coming to America, wait a minute, they're already in America.
Right. So, and that's another oxymoron that we hear, you know.
Let me ask you something.
Now, we'll say, because we'll say here, the United States is America. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Really? Seriously? Like, this is the only part of America. So it has people in what's called Haiti or Haiti that thinking that they're from somewhere other than America. Guatemalans think it. Canadians think they're from somewhere other than America. They really do think that it's separate. And we need to know that this is all of our land. Okay? So a native of America originally applied to the copper-colored races.
Hey, glory,
Hello?
glory.
Found here in the Americas by the Europeans. And that's from the American Dictionary of the English Language, North Webster, 1828 edition. All right? Then from the 1570s, originally one of the Aboriginal peoples discovered in the Western Hemisphere by the Europeans. Again, from the modern Latin Americanus from America, that's on etymology, online, right? We gotta know that America is here and it's abroad, because if we look outside where we are right now, we're thinking that other copper-colored people and on other parts of the Americas are not us, and they actually are us. All right, I'm getting okay. You want to read that, huh? Don't mean what you thought it mean, does it? No, not at all. Next slide. Okay, so when we talk about Aborigine, right? This is very important to know that based on the Latin phrase ab origine, which means from the very first. The source is the Random House College Dictionary of 1978. Next slide. Here is the emblem of America. Oh, my flashcards, I forgot them. I needed them. Okay, I was going to tell you where this actually came from. It's in the British Museum. This emblem of America is actually in the British Museum. Does that look like anyone you know? Right. Looks like us, right? Okay. So if and this is from the 1600s. When is this?
1798.
1798. This picture is from 1790. Yes, we do. Yeah, we really do. We absolutely have a lot of work to do. But today's presentation is going to bring a lot of stuff to the forefront for us. Yes.
I was talking to a guy last night about this, and you know what I mean, it's like, our people is really, really, really brainwashed to a point where, wow, what can we do? And I thank God that I'm here today, because this is just a sign that this is where the ancestors is leading you. Come over here where you all are at. Because I've been watching this stuff on YouTube and all that, and then you're right here. So it's like everything is gravitating, coming together. I'm here where I need to be.
All right, so there's a website link up there. I'm not going to encourage y'all to write that whole link down. All you got to do is go to the British Museum and type in Emblem of America, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about that picture. But this is what I need you all to know. They came over here, they drew that picture, they went back and put it in the museum. We were already here. Hello.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
They know who we are. We got to know who we are. We got to get in touch with who we are, okay? Next slide, please. So, Aboriginal, and it's a lot of definitions in this slide, and the reason is because we have to know for ourselves that we don't have to seek anywhere else. It's all right here, right? So Aboriginal, will someone read it?
Aboriginal, 60s. First earliest existing from the beginning.
One moment. First, earliest, existing from what?
The beginning.
So how long has the earth been a planet? Millions of years. Interesting, right? It says first, earliest, existing from the beginning. So let me ask you this question. Anybody in here have a great-great-grandmother that says she was a native or an Indian?
My dad.
Anybody in here? Yeah? Okay, so answer me this question. If that be the case, who's the first? Who's the earliest? Who's existing from the beginning?
We know who it's not.
Okay, so why we keep trying to go somewhere else? It's gonna touch you. I'm gonna just keep going. Because if I can make you look somewhere else, guess what? I can keep controlling what belongs to you.
Right.
Right? Do you hear what I'm saying? If I can make you look over there, of which we have pyramids here that's older than over there. Hello? Are y'all hearing me? Are you hearing me? Then guess what happens? You seek to be over there, African American, absolutely Pan-Africanist, absolutely not.
Well,
Right.
I can't hear though. But the land was connected.
No. We're gonna stop that. We're gonna stop that. Wait just a minute. What we're going to do is focus right here, right? Because they put it in their records. See, this is the thing. You can hide the truth in plain sight.
Absolutely.
But if I can teach you to look somewhere else, you won't see it right here in your face. And this is what has happened to us. You two are so handsome. You really are. Okay. All right. Will you please continue?
Especially in reference to inhabitants of lands colonized by the Europeans.
So let me read that sentence. Especially in reference to our people in our land, the Americas, colonized by Europeans. You hear me? All right? All right, will you continue?
For example, America. From Aborigines, see Aborigine, and al, the noun meaning an original inhabitant and
Autochton.
autochton is attested from 1760.
They told you that they know who the Aborigine peoples are because they go over there and they colonize their lands. Right? So, who are the Aborigine people? Next slide, please. So, this word has become extremely dirty to us. By plan, right? By plan. They planned to make this dirty to us, and they went about the process of making us not even want to identify as who we are. Yes? You want to say something?
No, just.
Okay. Okay. So think about this, right? And I know this to be a fact, and I attempted to find my birth certificate for you all this morning, and I just could not. But you know what I'll do? When I do find it, I'm going to email it to you, and I want you to email it to everyone else in here, because this is extremely important. Walter Ashley Pleckard, look him up, right? he was a promoter of eugenics, right? I was birthed, I manifested here in the physical in Virginia, right? Walter Ashley Pleckert was in Virginia. What Walter Ashley Pleckert did was he convinced the government to start identifying Indian or Aborigine peoples as colored. Do you hear me? My birth certificate says that I am colored.
Mine's do too.
In fact, I am an Indian. In fact, I am an Aborigine. Yours says it too? He did it not just in Virginia, that's where it started. He did it all over the United States. Yours says it too? See? So Indian, you're from Virginia. So Indian, everybody in here.
Well, I'll say my old birth certificate, but the one that issued, you don't say color.
But the original says yes. Well, yes, we do. We really do. They said the copper colored people, right? Copper colored. Look at yourself. Are you copper colored? That's all I'm saying. And I'm probably one of the lightest coppers, but I'm copper. All right. So Indian. I want you all to pay attention to this, okay? Because it's very important. The Aborigines of this country are so-called. That's from the 1854, a law dictionary adapted to the Constitution and laws of the United States of America by John Bouvier. If you ever want to know what the Constitution means and what it's saying, go to a Bouvier's. You will not get it from anywhere else. Black's Law will not help you here. If you're talking about Constitution and constitutional laws, you need to be in the Bouvier's. Make sense? Trust me. That it was adapted to the Constitution, meaning they wrote it to explain what's in the Constitution. Okay? And so as it pertains to the Constitution, when it talks about Indians, it is talking about the Aborigines of this country. Who are the Aborigines?
We are.
All right. Are we going somewhere? All right, next slide. All right, so to make it plain for you, because whenever I reference something, I'm going to take you to where it is so you can see it for yourself. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the Constitution for the United States. Anybody know what that says? Well, you're in learn today. All right. So, will someone read that?
I got you. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within the union, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed 3/5 of all persons.
So I'm going to read this again. I'm going to read it slow because we need to dissect some things here. Okay? So this was talking about how taxes were going to be assessed in the United States. Hear what I said. The United States. Who would have been the United States? The 13 colonies, right? Right? Are we a part of the 13 colonies?
Yeah.
Have we ever been a part of the 13 colonies? All right, stay with me. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union. What's the union that they're talking about? The 13 colonies, right? Very good. 13 colonies, United States, same difference. According to their respective numbers. So that means according to the number of people that they have in those colonies, right? Which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons. Because remember, they had slaves too. We forget that. They were slaves. That's what a Slav is, right? You want me to tell it?
Yeah, tell it.
That's what a Slav is. Has nothing to do with us. That was about them. Slav comes from the word Slavic. Hello. That ain't us. If you look right now, Slavic,
Yeah.
you will see it's them. Has nothing at all to do with us, okay? Including those bound to service for a term of years. This is indentured service, okay? Now, we did have some indentured service, but it's different from a slave, okay? And excluding what? Indians not taxed. Who are the Indians? The Aboriginal copper-colored people, right? So in that, what you see is that Indians not taxed is a separate group of people. But they sent us to their educational systems and they made us forget that we're not a part of them. But we can get it all back. Trust me when I tell you that. And 3/5 of all persons. And who would 3/5 of all persons be?
Wasn't that the blood?
3/5 human.
See, because you got to know as it pertains to the Constitution that persons means corporation. So they were talking about corporations there.
Oh.
Never even ever talking about people.
Now, weren't the
Okay.
slaves that were brought over, the Africans that were brought over as slaves, the stolen man, weren't they considered part of the corporation?
No.
Yes, it was.
They were considered
They
property.
were property that belonged to each individual corporation.
They were given that term, 3/5 of the.
That's why they were given that
Yeah.
term, because they were 3/5 of
Right.
the corporation's ownership
That's why it's domestic.
or commodity.
Instead of being free, and we look at the etymology, the lack of emancipation means transfer of property.
Absolutely.
So they said we were emancipated, we weren't free.
Yeah.
So we were moved from being slave, owned by the slave master to the United States corporate.
Right.
That's like you got-
And so I would say to you all, we need to stop saying we when it talk about slaves, because that was us.
Well, enslaved.
Okay, so
We're
what
prisoners
I
of war.
would
Prisoners of war.
for the purpose of this, you're talking about the Aboriginal of the Americas.
Absolutely.
What I'm talking about is that 3/5 of the corporation, which were the
property
Africans, the property that was stolen from the continent and brought over here as part of ownership of these
Corporations.
And so how many people do you actually think that were brought here?
Oh, millions.
Not as
Well, Haiti-
not as many as they say.
So-
Not as many as they say.
So I asked the question so we can do a little bit of an assessment here,
Yeah,
okay?
they got all the ship records and documentation, but a lot of it altered in life.
Okay, so the route in which they would have taken, right, would have been from the west of Africa over to the Americas. Now, we know from documented history that during those times, those waters were very rocky. They still are now. If you go out a certain way and come in a certain way, it's very rocky. Based upon the ships that they would have sailed in, which would have been wooden ships. Nothing like the ships that we have today, nothing like a cruise ship, right? How would it have been possible for them to bring millions of people over here? We really have to think about that. And let me tell, I will tell you that they brought more of us from the Americas, South and Central, to here than they did anywhere else.
I know in Haiti, a lot of it was about, the life expectancy in Haiti was 5 to 7 years, so they had to keep coming back to get it.
But they keep changing names.
Because
They
it-
say West Indies.
Right.
They
Yeah,
say more
because
East
it was Taínos who were there before us. It was Taínos who were there before Africans got there, the Arawaks and all that, and Nakona. All those in Haiti before, and a lot of them got
That was called Espanyola.
that's what they started bringing out Africans to Haiti. So that's why like America is kind of different from Haiti.
And I will tell you again, it would have been impossible for them to do that. Do the history. Trust, I'm not even standing up here and telling you this, just, if you assess the waters, assess the types of ships that they would have brought these slaves in here supposedly on and the conditions of them. Look at how big a cruise ship has to be in order to accommodate the number of people that it has to accommodate. You have to have supplies. You have to have clean water in order to keep these people alive because you cannot drink that salt water. Can you drink salt water?
No.
It was impossible, I assure you. Most of the slaves came from the Americas. And it was, yeah, I guarantee you, yes, Haiti as well.
We know that a lot of us came, because like Makedon all came from Benin. And a lot of our own was our only warrior, which was from Benin. Like Dada Buchman and a lot of them were shipped from Benin.
Haiti's history is more documented, more doctored than any other place, and I will tell you why. Because they kicked their ass. Plain and simple.
That's why.
Y'all will never know the real truth about yourselves unless you go to Europe and look in there. Yeah.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
I might be wrong, bro, but I went over to the Dominican Republic. I've been researching. You guys came straight from Spain when they did the Inquisition. Your people are Moors, the corporate Moors.
Not probably Dominican Republic.
No, I didn't, Haiti used to be that too.
Yeah, all that was Haiti.
That's what I'm saying. Can't enslave because we know they weren't slaves. That's what is that, Zinfandel?
Senegal.
Thank you. If you can't read or write, how you gonna build that on the biggest mountain? And that is one of the wonders of the world. That was nothing but the Moors when they sent them out of Spain and brought them along with them. Those white people from Irish. Irish. They expelled them too. And some more people.
What was told?
Cornell, whatever that general was over there. And they sent them over to Haiti. Cromwell, thank you. But you gotta go, I mean, they made such a web to me that you gotta just go
You do.
all the way back and back
You
again.
absolutely do.
Because they think they have really did a trick on us.
Yeah, so what they were told was like when they said, be careful with these because those are these are the descendants of those that built the pyramid. So they knew people
Well,
The pyramid, which pyramid? Because there's pyramids here, and there's more here than there are over there.
That's where we went. That's where we went.
That's not fun.
I'm gonna get back to y'all. I'm gonna get back to y'all. But I'm gonna tell you this. I have been to Benin. I have been to Togo. I have been to Ghana. I've been to Nigeria. I've been to a multitude of countries in Africa. You will not find the likes of you in Benin, Togo, or Ghana. Did you hear what I said? You just won't.
I swear you would. It's factions of Dessalines and Tucson and Benin.
No.
Oh my God.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. Yes, elder, sir. We're not Europeans, right?
I'm just asking, you said that the documented history says that it was impossible for Africans to be lodged in America due to the weather condition, ship condition, and everything. Well, how many people would, if you got that much information, how many people can you put a number on the people that were here for the past 500 years?
Absolutely.
There you go.
What they have?
Well, I will tell you this, that we went from being the Aborigine peoples to the African Americans. We went from being the Aborigine peoples, the Indians, not taxed, in a very short period of time, to blacks, colored, and whatever else they want to call us. We went from being that. How is it that they say that they killed? We've been here since millennia. For millennials. For millennia. Okay, we've been here for forever. Since time immemorial. Their documentation shows it, and I will show you that to you today. How is it that we then all of a sudden disappeared? We didn't. It's called paper genocide. We've always been here. We are the Aboriginal peoples found here by the Europeans. Haiti was one of the countries that these Europeans went to and found copper-colored people already there, not just them. All right? Those are the words that are most rarely spoken about, yes.
I want to mention the slave trade or whatever the route from Africa to America, not only the weather and the water and material, it would have been bad business. And like for instance, if you shipping the eggs from one place to another,
Right.
you gonna make sure that those eggs are taken care of. The way they show us that they put us in
Yes.
and had us stacked on
Yes.
top of each other.
That was a model.
It's
See,
impossible.
that was impossible.
Yeah.
It was bad business and then we were inventory. Do you want to do
Yeah,
inventory?
it's
like
painting,
that?
right?
It was a model in there.
Absolutely, a painting, a painting first, a model.
Yeah, so-
But they
Show me one slave ship, they can't show you one. They can't. Next slide. So back to this in the room, right? What we have to recognize is that the Indians referred to in the Constitution are us, the Indians, not tax. And so what I wanted to do was cover what tax meant. Can we look at the verb of the word tax? It's from the 13th century. It says to impose a tax on, evaluate, assess, handle, charge. What do they do when they arrest us? They charge us, right? They're not supposed to be doing that to us, but they do it because we don't know who we are. To touch, hello? They arrest us. When they arrest us, what do? They touch us, right? Right? To handle. They should be doing none of these things to us, Aboriginal people. And they know that because that's in their documentation. Right? Look at what a tax means. All right? So, next slide. An American Indian. So, if this came from the Encyclopedia of the American Constitution. Did you hear what I said? The Encyclopedia of the American Constitution. This is where this came from. In there you will find American Indians and the Constitution. Please pay attention to what I'm about to say. The phrase Indian not taxed was not a grant of tax exemption, right? Rather, it described a what? It described the status of the Indians, okay? At the time the Constitution was written, Indians were not taxed because they were generally treated as outside that should actually be the colonial body politic, all right? They are not United States citizens, or they were not United States citizens, so we are not United States citizens, right?
Exactly.
Right.
That's all we gotta be trying to get civil rights all the time, because that's the game.
Right. And they were not governed by federal and state legislation, so I'm gonna read that to you all in a different way, all right? You said? It should, absolutely. Okay, so the phrase Indian not taxed was not a grant of tax exemption. Rather, it described our status as Indians, right? At the time of the Constitution was written. Indians, or we, were not taxed because generally we were treated as outside the body politic of their colonizers, right? We were not United States citizens, nor should we be now. But we are because we don't know any better. And we were not governed by federal and state legislation. Now I'm going to prove to you how the Indians were not a part of their government in legislation. Next slide. That's because we had our own laws. Has anyone ever heard of the Great Law of Peace?
Yes.
Yes? You have, very good. So the Great Law of Peace was the law which we, the Aborigines, used to govern ourselves. Okay? It is the basis of all law, international and domestic. Now let me tell you how I know that for a fact. in my efforts to help Nura be released. And this is how I came across all this information. I called Indian law, right? And what Indian law said to me was as long as we identify as anything other than what we are, what our status is per the Constitution, India is not taxed. That internationally we cannot seek assistance. Did you hear what I said?
Can I ask you one question about that? Because this is what been bothering me about that. They have systematically labeled us as this, that, and the other, which they came up with. So I tell people today, I've not identified that I'm black, colored, African American, none of that. Yes. And I would not put that kind of stuff on any type of form. But how do we go past all of this that they've already set up into what we're talking about, what you're talking about now?
I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to it, I promise.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so the Great Law of Peace is the law Aboriginal people used to self-govern. It was founded by our ancestors. It recognizes the female as the head of the nation, right? When outside this law, you are foreign to our ancestors. So, for example, we became foreign to tribal rule, right? When our parents signed for a birth certificate.
Yeah. Did what?
We became foreign to tribal rule. That means governed by the tribal laws.
Right.
When our parents signed for a birth certificate. Because what happened? They identified us as black, Negro, colored, and we fell underneath their laws. And they knew that. They knew what they were doing when they did that. All right? And then it is separate from the United States Constitution, of which we gave to the Europeans to govern themselves, not us. Because the Constitution is a contract between Congress assembled and who?
Those colonies.
Congress assembles was the colonies. And Indians not taxed. The Constitution is a contract between two bodies of people. We, the Aboriginal peoples, gave them the Constitution.
Okay.
The Iroquois Confederacy gave them the Constitution. They told us that they did it, and I'm gonna let y'all see that. But what we have to know is that Constitution has two parties. Indians not taxed, which was us. That's how our ancestors chose to identify us. All right? We might not like the word, but it is what it is. And then Congress assembled. So when we have a grievance as Indians or Aboriginal peoples, who are we supposed to go to for remedy?
We go to the tribe. We go to the, well, I say nation, but we go to our elders.
Our nation, as a government, goes to Congress assembled as a government. That is how we establish this government-to-government relationship that we have with them.
But I thought our people were the ones that showed them, because they knew that all of it was a political system. So therefore, our people showed them about, a right of the Constitution.
We did. We showed them everything. And House Congress, write this down. House Congress Resolution. I didn't say House Joint. I said House Congress Resolution 331 establishes that we drafted the Constitution. They greatly admired it. Yes, and it was the Iroquois Confederacy that did this. It is in congressional records. All right? Next slide. House Congress Resolution 331. Yeah. Will you read that? Article 58 of the Great Law of Peace? Oh, you're recording. So our Great Law of Peace said basically that when we allow ourselves to abide by the laws of a foreign nation and we become foreign to tribal rule. What were you saying?
No, I'm just saying, I agree with you.
Yeah. I'll be right back.
I don't know, but for some reason it just, into my spirit to operate this way. I do not go abide by any laws of anybody, anywhere. I only go by the universal laws that operate through me.
Yes.
That's all I can do, nothing else. And I think that if anybody tries to attack the laws that operate universally, harmoniously, then that person needs to die.
Absolutely. Because, and that is how our ancestors view things. If you read the Great Law of Peace, that is a powerful document.
Yeah.
I'm telling you honestly, it is.
I really need all
You
of
was gonna say
this.
something?
Comment on what you just said about the regular form. How do we go about getting around all these things that they have done us? Was that your question?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that was the answer really right there, was that I decided to operate according to the universal harmonic laws that operate through me, so I don't care about the law. As long as the laws is in harmony with that, I go with that. When the laws step outside of that, and they try to attack me, then I think they should die.
Yeah, let me make a quick comment on what she's really actually doing. See, the law really actually governs all things and everything. So when you begin to know yourself, know who you are, then you begin to receive the power and keep them off of you.
Exactly.
That's what you just said.
All right, can you read from the Great Law of Peace?
Okay.
This is Article 58 of the Great Law of Peace.
It says, any chief or other person who submits to laws of a foreign person are alien and forfeit all claims in the Iroquois nation. There are now the 5 nations lead chiefs standing with the joint hands in a circle. This signifies and provides that should any of the chief of the league leave the council and the league, his crown, deer antlers, the emblem of his chiefship title, together with his birthright, shall lodge on the arms of the Union chief whose hands are so joined. He forfeits his title and the crown falls from his brow, but it shall remain in the league. A further meaning of this is that if at any time, any one of the chiefs of the league choose to submit to the laws of a foreign people, he is no longer in, but out of the league, and persons of this class shall be called, they have alienated themselves, a tompaton.
That's what a tompaton means, that you have alienated yourself from tribal rule. Because you chose to follow the rules of foreign nations, which we all do.
Yeah.
You follow the speed limit, guess what?
Yeah.
You alienate yourself. Yeah, for real.
Why do you say follow the speed limit?
From tribal rule. Because why do we need a speed limit? That's their stuff. That's color of law to be tribal rule. Right? Think about that. That's color of law. Right?
So quick to go with
That's
that.
why everybody is white,
Like,
black.
say they approach you, and you know, say they approach you, if you don't know what, if you don't know your laws, or even if you do know your, you understand where you come from and your laws are, they don't even respect their own laws.
No, they don't.
So at that point, you get arrested,
No, because what is supposed to happen is, and I want y'all to think about this, because we don't think far enough beyond ourselves, right? What's supposed to happen is, and I can tell y'all unequivocally that it happened with us, all right? One of our tribe members was arrested for not having an inspection sticker on the automobile that he was traveling in. And he refused to give them any information about himself. He told them, I am not your subject, that I am with the Iroquois Confederacy of American Aborigines, and they took him to jail. We wrote a letter, which I will send to you all so you can see it. And we told them under no uncertain terms is our people subject to their laws and rules. And guess what happened? They released him. But he had a part to play in all that too. Because when he was in there, he knew don't give them any information. And they could not force him to. Now they did try to assimilate him by taking they had him listed as John Doe, but they did try to assimilate him by taking his fingerprints. And because he had been a truck driver previously, they could identify the straw, right? But when they brought him into their venue, of which they did a mock one and put him before a juvenile justice judge just to get him up out of there, and they told him that the letter that we had written for him was all that he needed when he went back, because that was his total defense, of which they had no jurisdiction over him, that I lost my train of thought. So they told him that because he did not speak words to them, and he didn't, he knew he was not supposed to talk, that they could not keep him or hold him or charge him, and they did eventually. I think he was there for like 3 days, the time that it took us to write that letter, but once it was hand delivered, they created a mock court. And I'm not lying to y'all. The judge was on vacation. So they put him before another judge in another city on a screen to get him out of there, because they knew that he was under tribal rule.
So that shows you like with somebody in trouble with the nation behind them.
Absolutely, because it's what is government to government.
So that's why a lot of black nowadays, like when they get in trouble and get arrested, like they're in there for a long time because there's no nation to protect them.
Absolutely. They don't have a government to government relationship, so they don't have a government backing them.
Right.
He knew his government was going to back him, so he didn't say anything to them. What'd you say?
And there is no law,
Yeah.
black.
No.
And so that's why.
Because as long as you go under black, Negro, South African, you
Right.
still,
Property.
you still
Because they created those misnomers, right?
They created. You still got their last names, you still up under them.
Last names don't matter.
No.
I'm telling you, that don't matter. It's how you identify yourself that matters.
But your name, your spirit, and your shield, and then you go by somebody else's name.
No.
Who do you say you are?
You have to see. That's another thing, because we think that all these surnames you belong to Europeans, when in fact our ancestors had some of those names as well.
Right.
So we have to be mindful of that and know that it's all about a government to government relationship. And I'm going to show you and throughout this where that is. Go ahead, next slide. All right, so Indian tribes. So this is according to the 1854 Bouvier's Dictionary, adapted to the Constitution for the United States. What does it say? A separate and distinct community or body of Aboriginal Indian race of men, or we don't know why they put men, found in the United States. So it's found in the Americas. So a separate and distinct body, a separate and distinct community or body of our people found in the Americas. All right? That's what an Indian tribe is. Okay? And only an Indian tribe can have a government-to-government relationship with the United States, per the Constitution. Keep that in mind.
What about the so-called people that say they from Morocco?
Okay, so I'm going to touch just a little bit on that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you all some information that was given to me directly from the United Nations, as well as from Indian law and those who created the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Okay? And so what they said to me is that if you claim to be a Moor, when you look up the definition of the word Moor, I think we have it on the slide. That is an East African Berber. So a Moor does not have sovereignty here. They would have to have it in Africa because they're saying that they came from Africa. They're saying that they came from somewhere other than here. Now, I'm gonna bring this home for y'all because this is difficult for some people to hear. Our ancestors identified us in a certain way. Now, because there are Indian tribes who also say that they are Moors, but they say they're Indian first.
Right.
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
They say they're Indian first, right? So it's, yes, but that Wachita is what? Indian.
Right.
And the way that they're identified to the United States is American Indian tribe, not a Moorish tribe.